Hey guys, it's Elena and I'm gonna do a little winter wonderland scene today in Procreate on my iPad using my Winter Magic brush set, which is available in the link down below. And this is one that I did yesterday, and I'm going to try and do something like this, but we'll see if it turns out the same way now that I've got the camera on. So I'm gonna go ahead and start a new document, and that one was 3000 by 200 pixels, and I'm going to be primarily using my ice swatch set, which comes with the brushes along with all these other ones, and I will also be using some from the Cozy Lights swatches and the Winter Greenery. Okay, so I've set the ice to the default, which is why it's coming up down here, and I'm going to go ahead and choose this darkest color, and I'm going to make that the background color. All right, so I'm going to build up the scenery with some different mountains in different textures from some of the ice and snow brushes that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with just a pure white, and you can just double tap over here by the white to get that. And this is my Winter Magic brush set, and I'll start out with Fallen Snow number 1 to put in some hills in this area. I'm just going to make sure the opacity is all the way up on that. So I'm going to go ahead and start making a little hill here. And this is just the outline. I'm not going to lift up my brush as I just fill in this area here so that it all has texture that lines up. So I'm actually going to go in here and I'm going to duplicate this because I do want this to be a very strong white. And then the hills, as they go further back, they're going to be darker and darker. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer for using the same brush on the other side. I'm just going to go ahead and put that below. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put another little hill over here. So I'm just going to leave that one a little bit darker so that this one stands out more than that one. And I'm just going to go ahead and keep going with new layers and new hills. So always putting the new layer behind all the others so that I can build up the hills going backwards. So for this one, I'm going to choose a medium blue. I think I'm actually going to go a little bit lighter. And I'm going to select my Frost Crystals brush. Okay, so I'm going to make another hill just coming straight down from the corner now. Just touching up a bit in the corners here. And so now I'm creating a new layer and putting that below all the others again, choosing a grayish blue color, and I'm going to choose my Ice Cubes brush to add these icy looking mountains in the background here. Okay, so now we've got our mountains in the background, and I'm going to go ahead and put the moon on a layer above the rest here. And for the moon, I'm just going to choose my white color again. And you could do the moon with any, brush from Procreate, but I just thought it would be kind of fun to do the Ice Crystals brush. So I've got the brush pretty small. Okay, so I'm just carefully going in circles, varying the pressure and increasing. Now I'm doing less pressure, and it starts going back towards the middle. So there, we've got an interesting looking moon there. And behind the moon, I'm going to do a new layer, put that behind the moon, and I'm going to choose a grayish blue and my Twinkletown brush. So I'm behind the moon, and I'm just going to add a little bit of sparkle. I have the opacity down a little bit so that it doesn't stand out too much, because I am going to put some other stuff in the sky. Okay, so on top of the mountains, I'm going to go ahead and add some trees. And for this, I will go back to the Winter Greenery palette and set that one as default instead. So I've got it here. And I just want to put a few trees down here, and then maybe some other ones up there. So I'll start with the ones up there in sort of a gray color and see where that takes me. I'm going to go with trees number 1. And choose a darker gray as well, a greenish gray. Add a few more, just for some color variation. I'm going to choose my trees number 2, and this time a grayish brown color. See how that looks, maybe something a bit lighter. So I just wanted to add a couple different kinds of trees and a couple different colors. So I'm choosing trees number 3 now, and the color I'm choosing is just kind of a darkish gray because I wanted this area to appear as if it's in shadow from the other mountain. Now I'm going back to trees number 1 and just adding a few more in the dark gray color. Then I decided to add a line of trees along the edge of this front mountain, the first one that we made here, in the same gray color, but it stands out quite a lot more on the white. And I'm adding some greenish gray as well in the same brush. So now in a darker green color from that same palette that comes with the brush set, I'm adding some of these same trees along the front. And this will be more of a focal point, these trees in the front, which is why I wanted a bit more contrast between the trees and the hill. So back to trees number 2 in a light gray, very light gray color up here on this other hill, just for a bit of contrast. And then choosing the trees number 3, I'm just going to put a couple in a darker color. I decided to go ahead and use a darker color and put these, just a couple of these. So I've added a new layer. Choosing my very dark green, I'm going to add just a few more of these pine trees. So I'm making a new layer above all the mountains, and I'm going to choose my monochrome string lights, and I am changing my default color palette to the Cozy Lights palette that comes with the brush set, and I'm adding these little dots with it in the sky to make stars. So if I were to not lift the brush off the screen, then it would come out like string lights, but because I'm dotting with it, then it comes out like stars. So I'm adding a new layer up above the stars, and I'm choosing my Real Snowflakes number 3 and taking the white color, and I'm just going to add some snowflakes to the sky. And if this, with the snowflake brushes, if you tilt your pencil, then they get a bit more windblown looking, so the snowflakes themselves start to tilt if you do that. So I'm just kind of making a different mix of textures. That was a bit too tilted. But I don't want to add too many snowflakes because there's already all these stars in the sky and the moon and everything else, so I didn't want it to be too overwhelming. So I just added a few snowflakes in varying colors here and there. And now I'm going to go ahead and add another layer above the trees on the mountain. And I'm choosing my multicolored string lights this time. And I think I'm going to go ahead and get a brighter yellow color by going to the value, and I'm just going to choose a really bright saturated yellow because that is going to make the lights come out in really bright colors. Okay, so using that yellow, I'm just going to add some lights along these trees here. And I'm just going to do some of the trees, not all of them, just for a little fun touch. It's very subtle on this piece because there's not a lot of big trees, but I just wanted to add a little bit of interest here. And just a little disclaimer on this tutorial, I really don't consider myself an illustrator. I think I still have a lot to learn in that area. So I think that most of you are probably better at this sort of thing than I am actually. And so we're learning together and I'm okay with that. So anyway, I hope that this has been helpful in some way to inspire you, and let me know if you have any questions.